Make sure y'all stay on point with
The Puncher's Point. What's good, y'all? It's your boy Mario here. The last stop to Liverpool was a success because we said that in order to get this big unification bout between Natasha Jonas and Lauren Price, Natasha Jonas had to beat Habazin and Lauren Price had to beat Bexcy Mateus. And you know what? That's exactly what happened. We're going to start off with Lauren Price versus Bexcy Mateus. Lauren Price knocked out Bexcy Mateus in the third round to retain her WBA championship. Now, with that being said, the question that we had in this fight was, is Bexy Mateus good enough to dethrone Lauren Price? And we said it because there wasn't a lot of footage on Bexy Mateus. We didn't know who was going to be fighting. We didn't know who we were going to get, you know? And I think it's safe to say now that Lauren Price is just levels above her. Now I know a lot of people in the comments are going to say, oh, I knew she wasn't that great. Or you should have known that too. I mean, a lot of the girls she fought were scrubs and blah, 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 blah. I'm going to hear it all in the comments. All right. So get it out while you can. However, if we're talking about this fight right here, Lauren Price, I mean, she showed why she is one of the best welterweights in the world. And in just 8 fights, as a matter of fact, at that. Now, I do want to get to the grading, so let's start it off. Okay, we're gonna start off with strategy. Honestly, if you ask me what the fight strategy or the grade for the strategy is combined. Now, remind you guys, when we do the strategy grade, it's not on the winner, it's the combined strategy grade. Bexy Mateus didn't even really possess that much of a strategy, in my opinion. I mean, Lauren Price was so dominated that we wouldn't even have got to see what the strategy was for Bexy Mateus. Lauren Price, her strategy, in my opinion, was a 10. Bexy's was a 5. So I'm gonna say this, okay? As far as the strategy combined, I'm gonna be generous. I'm gonna give it a 6. Okay, I'm gonna give this strategy a 6 because there wasn't a chess match going on. It wasn't like two very high IQ fighters going at it one on one. Now, I'm not saying Bexy Mateus doesn't have a high fight IQ or anything like that, but we didn't get to see her strategy on display. We didn't get to see it because Lauren Price just basically dominated her. And I knew Lauren Price was going to win this fight. I had it as a unanimous decision. I was wrong. However, I still had Lauren Price winning. The problem was I didn't think Lauren Price was going to dominate her like this. I did not think Lauren Price, with just one knockout, was going to destroy her like that. And when I mean destroy, I mean destroy. Round one, knockdown. Round two, knockdown. And round three, that knockout was brutal. And let me tell you guys exactly what I think worked for Lauren Price. Well, Lauren Price was clearly the quicker fighter in this fight. Not only that, but Lauren Price, that left hand just popped Bexy, and Bexy couldn't take it. She couldn't take it. And what I also liked about Lauren Price, last but not least, was her 1-2 straights. I think she did a very good job with that. Now, as for Lauren Price, my whole strategy was basically, boxing the outside, outbox her, kind of slip out, don't get caught with any punches. But the truth is, Lauren Price proved that she is that good. She is that dangerous. Now, again, the other critique that a lot of people are going to have was Bexy Mateus. She wasn't as good as we thought she was, or some people might claim that she wasn't good to begin with. Regardless, I'm not going to say all of that. What I'm going to say is that's going to be the next critique, is that she hasn't stepped into the ring with somebody like Natasha Jonas. So that's going to be possibly a different outcome, or it's going to be a different fight. As far as Bexy Mateus, I mean, it wasn't really a lot that she showed in this fight. I mean, there was a little bit of a mark on Lauren Price's eye. Other than that, I mean, there really wasn't anything too crazy about what Bexy Mateus was doing. With Lauren Price, I feel like Lauren Price did very, very well. Also, I mean, the 1-2 combinations were just working, and again, she's quick, she's fast, she's young, she's got a bright future, Lauren Price. And for a lot of people who don't know who Lauren Price is a machine. She's wet into the ring against champions like Jessica McCaskill, and she dominated her too. I mean, Lauren Price is as good as a lot of people, claim that she is. I mean, again, she's 8-0. I know she doesn't have a lot of wins, but let me tell you something. Those are 8 dominant wins right there, and she is going to be getting this unification bout with Natasha Jonas, and rightfully so. I mean, and she said it after the fight. Lauren Price said that she believes that she is the best welterweight right now. It's hard to argue with her. It's hard to argue that Lauren Price is not one of the best welterweights in the division right now. So overall strategy, I'm gonna give it a 6, okay? Because we've seen so much out of Lauren Price and not enough out of Bexcy Mateus for me to even give it a fair strategy. So I think 6 is relatively fair. A lot of y'all in the comments are gonna be like, "Wait, then you should just judge it off Lauren Price by herself." Not gonna do it that way. Again, it's the strategy between both fighters. In my opinion, what makes a great fight is the strategy between both fighters. Fighters have to be on their A game for it to be a great fight. Now let's get to the excitement. As far as the excitement, I think it was an exciting fight. Even though it was lopsided, I think it was an exciting fight. It was a dominant, exciting fight. I'm gonna give it a 7. That's gonna be the grade I give it. I'm gonna give it a 7 because I mean those knockdowns, I mean they were serious. They were brutal. The first knockdown was a 1-2. And overall, I think Lauren Price did a beautiful job of setting up that left hand for the first knockdown. The second knockdown, I mean, it was like 10 seconds left in the second round, and she landed a straight left, and Bexy went down. And last but not least, got her on the ropes, hit her with a good left, and then that really rocked Bexy Mateus. Bexy Mateus looked like she was out on her feet, and then she hit her with one more because the ref did not want to stop it when he should have. Obviously, after that punch, after that first punch, Bexy Mateus did not look like she was. She did not look like she was in the right frame of mind. She didn't look like she was conscious, in my opinion. She didn't look like she knew what was going on. Right then and there, the ref should have just stopped the fight, but he didn't. And obviously, they say you got to keep on going until the ref calls it. The ref didn't call it. Lauren Price landed one more. It dropped down Bexy Mateus, and that was it. But overall, I mean, the excitement was the knockdowns and how beautiful and how accurate and how impactful they really were. So I'm gonna give it a 7 for that alone. Now, as far as the impact in this fight, well, we said it. They both needed to win this fight in order to get that big unification bout, and they did. So as far as this fight alone, I mean, the impact was big. It was a defense. I'm gonna give it another 7. I think that the impact for this fight, again, if she don't win this fight, we don't get her versus Natasha Jonas, and that's 3 belts in the welterweight division combined. So I'm gonna give that a 7. I think she did what she was supposed to do. But other than that, I mean, could we see Lauren Price on the top 10 women's pound for pound list? Possibly. Do I think we're going to see it? Maybe not. I feel like this fight with Natasha Jonas is going to be the one that would put her on that pound for pound list if she was going to be on it. I mean, but who knows? I mean, Delphine Pursoon was a top 10 pound for pound. You know what I'm saying? I think Lauren Price has proved that she's a good champion. So that could possibly, boost her up into that top 10. But overall, I'm going to give it a 7 because I do think that this sets up a big fight in that division. It's a division that's very, very talented and very entertaining, but it's a division that doesn't have big fights in it. And I think that this is one of the quote unquote big fights that you can make in that division. So as far as impact, she did what she was supposed to do to make that big fight happen, and we're gonna get it. So I'm gonna give it a 7. And last but not least, the stakes that were at hand. The stakes, it was a WBA championship. There was a championship on the line for that. And obviously the stakes were you have to set up for this fight alone. So overall, you know what? I'm gonna give it another 7, in my opinion. I know everybody's saying, "Oh, you're just gonna keep rating 7s and 6s for everything." Look, I'm gonna explain why. The reason why I'm gonna give it a 7 as far as stakes is because we do have the WBA championship on the line. It was 2 undefeated fighters that were fighting, and even though we didn't know too much about Bexy Mateus, regardless, when you have 2 undefeated fighters, and especially when you go in there and you're going up again in there against a knockout artist with 7 wins and 6 knockouts, regardless how those knockouts came about, 6 knockouts against 7 wins, and you only had one in your entire career, and you go in there and you defeat her. In my opinion, I mean the stakes were huge. You got to go in there against a knockout artist, a potentially dangerous opponent, and you got to go in there and beat her, and that's exactly what she did. I thought she was going to outbox her for 10 rounds. It only took 3. So I do believe that right then and there, that is a good grade to have the stakes at a 7. So you know what? Overall, when you add it all up, it's a total of 27 out of 40. And when you put that together, that is 6.75. Now, 6.75 on our fight grade list, it's not that high. However, I do believe that as of right now, it is somewhere around that top 10. So the 6.75 is actually I lied. It's going to be kind of on the bottom of the list. The 6.75 is going to be right below Oshaki Foster and Robeson Casaccio, and it's going to be right above Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. So that's where it's going to land. Um, yeah, the 6.75, it's going to be right then and there. And overall, the reason why the fight isn't graded as high as some of the other ones is because it didn't last that long. I do believe that's a big part of it. The stakes and the impact itself, it was good, but it wasn't great. There wasn't anything gigantic to really kind of put it higher. Now, I did say, for all y'all who watched the prediction episode, if you go back to it, I did say this is going to change women's boxing this night. And it did. But it's leading up to something bigger. It's kind of like, the Avengers. It's kind of like the Avengers. It's leading up to something bigger. You have to stay in tune. There's a whole nother part of the story that you got to get through, which is the other part, Natasha Jonas defeating Ivana Habazin by unanimous decision. Now, let's talk about that fight real quick. Natasha Jonas, congratulations to her. I mean, she's proving that at the age of 40, she is a very, very good fighter. She's better at age 40 than she was, 5, 6 years back. So I got to give her a lot of credit on that. Not many fighters can say that they could go up to 40 years old and still be a very, very successful champion. I mean, we've seen it against Michaela Mayer, and then she went in there against Ivana Habazin, who was also a champion, and she defeated her. And slowly but surely, Natasha Jonas is definitely building up that record. She's definitely building up that resume. But let's get into the strategy a little bit. What I liked about Natasha Jonas in this fight was she kept relying on those check hooks. I said that Ivana Habazin, she leans in a lot. And in this fight, if she leans in, Natasha Jonas can make her pay, and it's exactly what she was doing. There were times where Ivana Habazin was kind of leaning in a little bit too much, and Natasha Jonas got her with the check hook. Natasha Jonas also did a very good job of setting up her 1-2 straights. She did a very good job of kind of feinting and opening up for those hooks to come in. I remember there was one, she hit her with a left hook, and then Ivana Habazin came up and she clipped her with the right, and she really rocked her. And there was a point where I thought that she was going to end that fight. And then basically, according to Natasha Jonas, her trainer said that she kind of recovered, so she kind of stepped away from the gas a little bit. But regardless of that, I mean, I thought there was a point where she was going to knock down Ivana Habazin. I mean, credit to Ivana Habazin. She really stayed in there. She showed her heart, because I thought that this fight was going to end in a knockout. I thought that Natasha Jonas was going to end this in the fifth round. It was going to be a quick night. She did win, but she didn't knock her out. It was a unanimous decision. One judge had Ivana Habazin winning one round. The other judges had her winning all 10. Me, I gave Ivana Habazin 2 rounds. I think I gave her round 5, and I think I gave her one of the later rounds as well. But other than that, I mean, this was Natasha Jonas just straight up, just going in there, taking care of what she had to take care of, taking care of business, and making sure that she gets this fight with Lauren Price all set up. Now, as far as Ivana Habazin, what did she do very well? Well, Habazin did a very good job of, she did, I'll say this, in the beginning, she did a good job of rushing. I did say that somebody like Natasha Jonas, in the one loss that she had, the one thing that this girl kept doing was she kept on rushing her. She kept on rushing her and giving her no space to breathe. And I do believe that is the way you beat her. However, I think she did a very good job of that, but there were also times where I think she gave her time to catch her breath. And I think because she gave her moments where she could catch her breath and kind of figure out what to do and kind of figure out what counters. By the time Habazin went to go rush in again, Natasha Jonas had a counter setting up for her. I think that Habazin could have did a better job of just basically suffocating her, getting her up against those ropes. Because when she got her up against those ropes, I think she did have very, very good success. There were also times when they were on the inside, and they were both, exchanging combinations on the inside. Natasha Jonas, by the way, did a very, very good job of going to the body and basically pressuring that body. So I give her a lot of credit on that. Habazin did a very good job of, trying to get as much punches as she can when she went into the inside. I said Habazin should rely on her jab. She did that, but the jab really wasn't successful. Really wasn't finding Natasha Jonas too well. What I also liked about Natasha Jonas is she did a very good job of managing range and managing distance. She did a very good job of basically setting up Ivana Habazin for those counters. She wasn't just staying in the pocket and brawling and everything like that. Ivana Habazin would come forward. Natasha Jones would use her footwork and basically get out of harm's way. And then when Ivana Habazin would get a little bit too greedy, or she would kind of push forward too much, Natasha Jonas was there to counter her. And I think she did a very, very good job with that. Now, as far as the strategy altogether in this fight, if you grade it from a scale of 1 to 10, I'm gonna give it a 7.5. I think that's a good place to have it right there. I think a 7.5 is a good place to have that strategy, because I think overall their strategies were decent. I think Habazin had a strategy, it just didn't work out the way she wanted it to. And Natasha Jonas's strategy of basically using her footwork, using her counters, using her check hooks. I feel like those three things were brilliant for Natasha Jonas to come out of there and get a win. Now, As far as excitement in this fight, I thought this was an exciting fight. I'm gonna give the excitement a 7. I thought this was a good, exciting fight. I think both fighters came in there, and I think both of these fighters were basically looking to outbox the other, and basically get this win any way possible. I mean, Natasha Jonas, I think she had the plan in her mind that she was going to outbox her. She wasn't going to go in there and try to knock her out or anything. She was going to go out there and outbox her. And don't get me wrong, when she rocked her in that round, I think she wanted to get that knockout. And I mean, it is before anybody jumps down my neck and says, "Oh, well, that's crazy that you don't think that she would go in there and knock her out." That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is this, okay? What I am saying is obviously every fighter wants to get that knockout, clearly. However, I think Natasha Jonas, I think her plan was to outbox her. If the knockout happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I do, and I think proof of that is when she rocked her and then her trainer told her that she recovered and she just continued outboxing her. I think that was proof of that. Because if she wanted to, if she really truly wanted that knockout, she could just rush in, keep on hitting her, and do all that type of stuff. And basically, like I said, she can scrap and bang with the rest of them, Natasha Jonas. So if she wanted to, she could have just came in there, take place where she left off in the other round, and just continue wailing on her and trying to get the knockout. But she didn't. She continued to outbox her. When she had moments to do some damage, she did that. I really like her inside game, like I said. So as far as exciting, she had a lot of action in this fight, Natasha Jonas, and she put up a beautiful performance. With Ivana Habazin, what I really liked about her is she stayed in there. She proved her heart, and she didn't quit. And on top of that, I think Ivana Habazin through round 1 through round 10, even though she didn't get the win, even though it wasn't as dominant as as people thought it was going to be, or whatever the case might have been. Even though Ivana Habazin didn't get this win, I think through round 1 through round 10, she did a very good job of trying to push the pace, trying to push the action. You could tell in those later rounds, she was trying to push the speed. She was trying to pick up the pace. And Natasha Jonas just had a great game plan. So overall, I'm gonna give the excitement a 7. Now, impact. Like I said, now because Natasha Jonas won, now because Lauren Price won, we're going to get this fight. So the impact for that was there. The other impact as well. Overall, the impact for this fight, I mean, you know what? I'm gonna give it a 7. I think that if I'm gonna give the impact a 7 for Lauren Price, I have to give it for Natasha Jonas. And the reason why is because what was on the line. Actually, you know what? I lied. I'm gonna give it an 8. And here's the reason why. The reason why I'm gonna give it an 8 is because unlike Lauren Price, all right, Natasha Jonas was facing a world champion and she was going after another belt. So this was a title unification match. This wasn't a defense. This was a title unification match, which means both fighters were defending their title, and this was the main event. So Lauren Price went out there first. She handled business, and that puts the pressure on Natasha Jonas to go in there and have a great performance, which she did. And I think this impacts the division because now we get to see that unification bout, but at the same time, you have a fighter who is known for going the distance and outboxing women for 10 straight rounds. She gets a knockout in the third round. And then you have a fighter who has over 50% knockout percentage, and she goes in there and she outboxes her for 10 rounds. So now all of a sudden, you have one fighter who was dominant for 10 rounds, and then you have the other fighter who was able to knock out her opponent in 3 rounds. Now all of a sudden these two are going to come together, and this is what makes it a great fight. And on top of that, here's the other reason why I'm gonna give it an 8. It's because after that fight, they had Lauren Price in the ring, and then the interviewer asked her, "Is there any message that you want to send Natasha Jonas?" She said, "I hope you have a great Christmas, and we'll see you soon." Natasha Jonas says, "Be careful what you wish for. We will see you." So then they get into this little banter. Lauren Price says she's too fast, she's too strong, and she's too young. And Natasha Jonas says, "That's what Terry Harper said before I fought her." And Lauren Price goes, "I'm not Terry Harper." And Natasha Jonas hits her with a savage comeback. And she says, "You're not much better than her." And that right there, that might spark something, right? So overall, just that banter in itself, I'm going to push it to an 8. And last but not least, the stakes. Like I said, the two belts, the IBF and the WBC championship were on the line. So there were the stakes right there. The stakes were it was the main event, so you had to deliver after Lauren Price's fight. So there's those stakes as well. And last but not least, it was almost like we knew Natasha Jonas was going to win this fight. but we also knew that she had to dominate. Now, again, like I said, I thought it was going to be a knockout, but either way, regardless of whether it was a knockout or a decision, Natasha Jonas had to go in there and put up a great performance. With Lauren Price, it was a little bit different. We knew she had to put up a great performance. I knew she was going to win. I thought it was going to be by decision. But the difference between Lauren Price's fight and Natasha Jonas' fight is because with Bexcy Mateus, you're going up against somebody who's 7-0 with 6 knockouts, like I said. And we didn't know what we were going to get. For all we know, Bexcy Mateus could have been this woman who came in there and was a killer. But that wasn't the case, clearly, as we saw. With Natasha Jonas, you're going up against a world champion, and this adds to your resume. And after the Michaela Mayer fight, there's a lot of pressure on you to tweak the mistakes that you made in that fight, but also have a better performance in this fight. And I think she did that. But overall, the stakes for me, I'm gonna push it to an 8 because I feel like this was the most important fight on the card, and clearly it was because it was the main event. If they felt like Lauren Price and Bexy Mateus was the better fight, they would have put that as the main event, but they didn't. Again, Natasha Jonas and Ivana Habazin was the main event, and we knew we were going to get this fight. We knew Natasha Jonas was going to win. It was just a matter of how she was going to do it, and was she going to have a great fight? So overall, I mean, the stakes, I'm going to give it an 8. And I also, on top of that, Natasha Jonas, I feel like she's accomplished more in women's boxing, so I feel like that helps her with the pound for pound rankings as well. So yeah, I'm going to give it an 8. And with that being said, the overall grade for this fight is going to be a 7.63. And that 7.63, that is going to be ranked right between Bakram Murtazaliev and Tim Tszyu. It's going to be right below that fight and right above Oscar Valdez versus Emmanuel Navarrete 2. So that's 7.63. That's where it's going to be. And overall, now, since we graded both fights, now we know what's going to happen next. Lauren Price versus Natasha Jonas for the WBA, the IBF, and the WBC championship. Now, I'm not going to give a prediction here. That's going to be a whole prediction episode when that fight gets announced. And we know how boxing is. Even though fights are supposed to be made, sometimes they make different fights in between and everything like that. It's a whole layover. So I'm not going to give predictions. But what I will say is this. Okay, what to expect in this fight. Natasha Jonas has proven that she is a very, very successful champion, and she's proven that at age 40, she's in the prime of her career. Lauren Price has proven that in just 8 fights, she is able to call herself one of the best fighters in the welterweight division. So when you put these two together and you make this fight happen, what I really find interesting about this fight is Lauren Price has not been tested by nobody. Nobody. Jessica McCaskill was her, in my opinion, what was supposed to be on paper her toughest fight, and it wasn't that tough. So so she dominates Jessica McCaskill. Then Bexy Mateus, again, was supposed to be a very dangerous fighter. She beats her in 3 rounds. Natasha Jonas, she lost to Katie Taylor, but she put up a great fight. That was her last loss. And then since then, she's really been on a tear. So, with that being said, what are we expecting out of this fight? When I look at this fight, I'm expecting a chess match. I am expecting two fighters with high boxing IQ to go in there and to prove that they are the number one fighter in that division. That's what I am expecting. I'm not expecting a dominant third round KO or a 10 round sweep. Could that happen? Possibly. But do I think it's going to happen? No, because I think both of these fighters are too good. And honestly, both of these fighters right now, this is the fight that they need to make because this, like I said, this division has a lot of good talent in it, a lot of good talent. But the problem is with this division, they don't generate the same hype that Katie Taylor and that super lightweight division develops. It doesn't generate the same hype that Amanda Serrano's division does or Clarissa Shields. They don't have that big star to put the eyes on that division. So it's up to them to do that. And I think this fight between these two, even though it's not what you call a women's boxing super fight, I think this is a fight that is definitely going to put a lot more eyes onto them. Now, the reason why I wanted to cover this fight, and as far as the puncher's point, the reason why we, me and Breezy at the time, wanted to cover this fight is because we believed that this fight was going to be a very, very impactful fight for women's boxing. And we felt like this day was going to be an impactful day for boxing if they won, and it won. And they both won. Even though we didn't give it a high, big impact, now this leads on to the last chapter. And the last chapter is Natasha Jonas versus Lauren Price for the WBA, the IBF, and the WBC championship. And whoever wins that could push undisputed. So that's what I'm looking forward to in this fight. I'm looking forward to two very intelligent fighters, both with high IQ, and I'm looking for a boxing chess match. That's what I am expecting in this fight. But anything could happen in the sport of boxing, so you never know. And with that being said, obviously I'm gonna have to wait, and we as boxing fans are gonna have to wait for that fight to be announced. It might happen after Christmas. Obviously, it might be announced after Christmas. Natasha Jonas said that she wants to enjoy the holidays, and I mean I don't blame her one bit. You know what I'm saying? So it's gonna happen after the holidays. I'm expecting it to be announced after the holidays, but regardless of when it gets announced, this needs to be the next fight for both of them, in my opinion. If one of them wants to go after the other champion in that division, then so be it. You know, if that's what they want to do, then feel free. But I do feel like this is the fight that needs to happen in boxing. And I feel like with both of these fighters, I feel like the problem here is with boxing, you never know what could happen. It's supposed to be one fight, and then all of a sudden something comes into the way, and then we got to wait longer. And that's not what I want to see. What I want to see happen is I want to see both of these fighters fight each other. Now, the other fighter in this division is Michaela Mayer. And again, Natasha Jonas went in there and she beat Michaela Mayer. But can one of those two possibly go and fight Michaela Mayer? I mean, Natasha Jonas already beat her, but can Lauren Price go up there and try to get that WBO championship? Who knows? But overall, I truly just want to see two fighters that are very smart, very high ring IQ, two ring generals just go in there and give us a great boxing fight. And I believe they do have the potential to do that. So with that being said, obviously we're gonna have to wait for that. But while you're waiting, make sure you check out the new content from the Puncher's Point. We're gonna keep our I am going to keep on dropping videos for y'all. Make sure y'all continue to tune into those videos. You know, leave a comment. Whether you agree, disagree, regardless. Make sure y'all leave your interactions, leave your digital footprint, as I would like to say, in the comment section below. Make sure y'all subscribe. Make sure y'all check out the Instagram, the X or the Twitter, the Facebook, the Reddit, the Discord. Make sure y'all check out the threads, all these great things, the podcast especially. Make sure y'all go check those out. And last but not least, make sure y'all stay on point with the Puncher's Point. What's up, y'all? If y'all love this episode, make sure y'all subscribe. You hit that notifications button and also take a look at the recent episodes that we made before this. Make sure y'all stay on point with the Puncher's Point.